Today I'm going to be speaking about one of the bloodiest conflicts of the 21st century. I'm going to be speaking on the Syrian Civil War. Bringing this up because there was an attack that the U.S. did directly on Syria at the beginning of April in response to a chemical attack that had fallen on the town of Ponce. I'm bringing this up. This is an issue that might become bigger. Syria and Russia claimed that the attack was unwarranted. I found this to be an issue that I should be improperly informed about. So I did some research, and I'm going to go with my findings and the causes and effects of the war, of what's going on right now. I'm going to start at the beginning, which begins in 2011 in the spring, when in what is known as the Arab Spring Revolts, which several Arab countries were fighting to overthrow their oppressive dictators. During this time, 15 Syrian teenagers were caught writing political graffiti in support of the revolts, and all of them were tortured, some of them were killed. This led to protests by the civilians for the unfair treatment of the teenagers. The government responded by killing the protesters. Some members of the military could not stand with that, and they defected and formed the Free Syrian Army. This is the beginning of the Civil War, which launched the country into chaos. And chaos is where terrorism thrives. Many of the groups that were small, like ISIS, began to recruit in this time. They began to gain territory, and they became stronger and stronger until the group that they are now. But other than the ground troops that are fighting in Syria at the moment, this is much bigger. There's international superpowers involved in this as well. There's Russia and Iran on the side of the Syrian regime of Assad, and there is the U.S., the Arab League, and the European Union on the side that is planning to overthrow Assad. Russia has supported the Syrian regime by blocking any UN intervention that has been voted on. They also began a bombing campaign against ISIS, in which the attacks were not just only ISIS members, but rebels that were fighting the Assad regime as well. Iran also supports the Assad regime in that they fund the terrorist group Hezbollah to fight alongside Assad against the rebels. U.S. and the Arab League on the other side have funded what they consider moderate rebels with supplies and weapons, money, whatever they needed to have a fighting chance against the regime. The U.S., the Arab League, and the European Union have all imposed sanctions on Syria and refused to buy Syrian oil. The U.S. also created a coalition between itself and its other Arab allies to begin an attack against ISIS, in which some Assad strong points were hurt as well, just like Russia did. All of this have been indirect attacks by the U.S. on Syria. This all changed back on April 6th when President Trump attacked Syria. Now, why did he attack Syria? Because they launched a chemical attack. And this was against the pact that they had made between them, Syria, and Russia, which had Assad destroying his chemical weapon stockpile, and the attack on Khan Shaykhun was a direct violation of that pact. So the U.S. responded. This attack on Khan Shaykhun left dozens dead and hundreds injured. Russia and Syria have both claimed that this was not an attack that they planned out. It was instead a rebel base that had chemical weapons, and when they bombed it, the gases spilled, and that's what they're sticking with. So this is two superpowers saying one thing happened and the other, and it does have the potential for escalation into something bigger. But other than just the U.S. being involved here is as a reason to why it should matter. There's also humanitarian issues going on here. Since the beginning of the war, there has been 465,000 dead Syrians. More than 12 million have lost their homes. Many have fled the country to Europe and neighboring countries seeking shelter. the ones that have stayed in Syria don't have access to water, food, shelter. They're living in their broken homes. There's many of the dead are children. Many of the children don't have schools to go to. The Syrians have suffered plenty during this war, and I'm hoping to have educated you guys on the war. And thank you guys for your time.